Finals are over, the holidays are upon us. I'm Professor Joseph Vandehei, and welcome to Math and Tea, the show where we talk math and drink tea. Now, today I want to do just a short little episode where I give you some advice about where you can go to find papers if you're looking for them. There's lots of different websites out there which have different benefits and some negatives, and here are a list of some of them. I'll include some links down in the comment below so you can find them all. First off, MathSciNet. Now, the big draw of MathSciNet is that it not only publishes a record of the papers, but it also publishes a short review of them. It's the math reviews. This came back from way back in the day where you might not have all of the journals or you might not want to read through all of them, but you could certainly read through the math reviews of what came out in your area in that month. MathSciNet is really big and has records going way back. But on the other hand, it is a service that you do need to have a membership for. And unless you are working at a university that has that membership, well, you're kind of out of luck on it for the most part. Number 2, Zentralblatt. Now, Zentralblatt is basically the European version of what MathSciNet and math reviews are here in America. And in that regard, they're pretty darn similar. In fact, about the only major difference I can think of between the two is that most Americans I know tend to prefer using MathSciNet, whereas most Europeans I know tend to prefer using Zentralblatt. And that's it. Number 3, Google Scholar. Now, this is one of those kind of hideaway ones that not a lot of people know right off the bat, but it's really, really good. No, it's really, really good. First off, it's a Google product, which means it's, for the most part, freely available. You don't have to have a membership for it, unlike for MathSciNet or Zentralblatt. It also has a really big record, with basically the only issue of it being the typical Google issue, which is that if it's not online, Google doesn't know about it. Here's a little tip for using Google Scholar. The link that is most prominently available is typically a link to the journal where it appeared at. Now, if you don't happen to have a subscription to the journal, you might be out of luck, except Google Scholar also says show all certain number of versions. And if you click on that link, it will display a list of different versions of the articles, some of which might be freely available. Next up, professor webpages. Yeah, they're a pretty good resource. I say this because a lot of professors these days, especially the younger ones, tend to have very good web pages where they list out all of their papers, including links to where they can be found. Sometimes this is to the journal in which they can be found, which is the same issue with Google Scholar, but sometimes there'll be a PDF of the article right there. Okay, but the issue with professor web pages is that they're not always easy to find. So what I would recommend is first search for the paper on MathSciNet, on Google Scholar, on Zentralblatt if that's your thing. And then once you know what the paper you're looking for is called, and once you know who wrote it, search their website if you can't find it anywhere else. If you can't even find a copy of the paper on their website, often you can just email the professor. We're generally pretty good about sharing our papers. Then there's the arXiv, which I've spoken a little bit about in a previous episode. The arXiv, which is arXiv, is a pre-publication archive. It's not the best for searching. It has a search feature, it's just not very good. But it's a great place, once again, for actually finding copies of the papers. In fact, Google Scholar will frequently link to arXiv, as will many professor pages. Oh, and if I can plug a project of a friend of mine, check out the archivist. This is done by my good friend Anton Lukyanenko. The archivist will send you an email every day with your top 5 recommended papers that just appeared on the archive, and it's tailored to specifically what you like. Okay, but now let's move on to the very last thing. This is a tough one to use, but can be invaluable in certain cases. Mathnet.ru. This is kind of a Russian version of MathSciNet or Zentralblatt, except not really. I don't even know how this one is particularly run, but it can be a great resource for finding Russian papers. There's a link up at the top left of the page that will give you a language option between English and Russian. So if you don't read Russian, just click on the ENG and switch it over to English. Now, the reason why Mathnet.ru is so great is that many Russian language papers don't appear in other things. They don't often appear on MathSciNet, they don't often appear in Google Scholar, or if they do, they're sometimes split up between the English version and the Russian version, and it's a headache. But Mathnet.ru has a bunch of them, including even the PDFs in many cases. So sometimes it's just the place you can go to find that one strange old Russian paper. It's happened a number of times, believe it or not. Anyways, that's all I wanted to bring up for today, just to give you a little bit of help in the future. But it's time for me to grab some more tea. Bye, everyone.